What's up, guys? This is Boondocks, and right now I want to talk about Oberon. So, Oberon is really easy to get because pretty much you can get his parts from any mission, anywhere, as long as you kill an Xmas enemy, and they drop the part. Eventually, you'll get to the point where even after building him, you're just selling all the random bullshit parts that you get for credits. In my opinion, he's one of the cooler looking frames with all these like crazy head spikes and antler thing going on. I absolutely love the way he looks. Plus the little additions and colorations throughout him, so I'm kind of depressed that he's weak. And why is he considered weak? Well, it's because while his kit is decent, other frames just do it better. And in addition to that, he does radiation damage, which isn't exactly the most powerful as far as covering multiple factions is concerned. It's really only powerful against the Grenier, and then after that it has a lot of drop-off, and it causes confusion instead of doing like extra damage or making them weaker from something like, say, viral or corrosive. So because of that, he's just not exactly in the best place. For instance, Smite. It's going to shoot out a energy ball that's going to do radiation damage and do a little bit of AoE around the target that gets hit. Now, while it's decent, other frames will just do it better, like Volt or Ember. So with that in mind, I'm going to kind of use the exact same skills and the same order, except change it up just a little bit. For starters, Smite. Well, when I think about Oberon and the fact that he's the Paladin Warframe, I think what makes a Paladin as far as like the fantasy stories go. Typically, Paladins are tanky melee fighters that can also heal their teammates. So right now, he's not as focused on that type of thing, so I don't really get the Paladin vibe from him. So for instance, Smite. Typically when you look at fantasy games, Smite is often a melee ability. So what I would actually change Smite into, still doing radiation damage, I'm not going to take that away just because it's not the strongest. Instead, I'm going to say yes, have him do radiation damage because it's a rather unique damaging type as far as a frame's concerned. And instead make Smite a melee ability where he summons a like ethereal hammer type thing and will swing that through in a big arc, damaging all enemies that get hit by it. Not knocking them down, but instead doing just straight damage, and it'll pass through them because it's ethereal, and I think that would be cool. So, because it'll still do the radiation damage, you can still get the confusion proc on it. But I will take away that range capacity, but make it melee, and therefore a little bit cooler, and will also synergize with some of my later plans. Additionally, because it is melee, it'll also gain some benefits from whatever melee mods you have equipped. So as far as Hallowed Ground is concerned, whether or not my idea should be moved further down the list or not, I'm not entirely sure on. But what I was thinking is, Hallowed Ground, what it should actually do, instead of doing damage over time, I think it should lay down a big surrounding area, still give the armor increase, as you can see here, but instead of doing damage, it should be a melee damage increase, similar to how Mirage's one ability will make it so that your teammates do extra damage. Well, assuming you have it modded for that anyway, Hallowed Ground would put down a big circle on the ground, similar to what it does now, and then any enemies that take melee damage while on top of Hallowed Ground will receive bonus damage based off of power strength. And to me, that will very much apply to the whole melee side of being a paladin. Additionally, when any enemies affected by Hallowed Ground will have increased threat towards Oberon. So because of this, Oberon becomes an actual tank. Right now there are no main tanks in the game, and my idea is that, hey, throw down Hallowed Ground, all the enemies turn and try to fight Oberon, and then he could just smite them to death with his ethereal hammer. Next, Renewal. Right now, Renewal just kind of sends out this energy pulse that will track down your teammates and heal them. And honestly, while this is nowhere near as good as Trinity's one-button full health restore, I definitely can see it still being fun as something you could work into your rotation. where not only will that pulse heal your teammates, but it'll reduce the damage that enemies are able to do. So it won't be like an attack speed down, like say Nova. Instead, what it'll do is as it spreads out, and I'm thinking more of like the Nova's pulse, as it spreads out, it's going to heal teammates that it passes through, and make any enemies that it passes through deal reduced damage. Finally, Reckoning, I would actually keep almost the same, except instead of lifting enemies into the air, I think it would be cooler if you, like, when I picture the word Reckoning in my mind, I think like beams of light from heaven shining down and burning enemies to a crisp, and I think that would be awesome and not synergize, but reflect really well into this whole paladin, beams of light, heavenly type idea. Even though I don't want to keep using the word heaven, I'm thinking more about classic paladin setup. So, and the enemies would still be blinded. So what I'm thinking overall is to make Oberon a actual tank, where he's going to generate threat, be able to take more damage thanks to increased armor, heal himself and allies, while reducing the damage that enemies can do, and using Reckoning, prevent them from doing any damage thanks to the blind. The Reckoning, though, will be more of a oh shit type button, where you're going to want to sustain yourself just through renewal. Additionally, thanks to Hallowed Ground's increased melee damage, the Smite ability would actually become useful as you're swinging this big ethereal hammer through enemies. And to me, all those things would synergize together and make Oberon pretty unique. And in all honesty, that's what he needs to be. He needs to be a unique frame instead of picking and choosing and being like jack of all trades, master of none. And that's what I envision Oberon being. So anyways, until next time, good luck, have fun, peace.